his partner died. And people are coming by in his business, his office, to see if he will donate money to the poor. And he has no interest in that. He thinks the warehouse, the prisons and the workhouses, they call them at the time, who took in poor people to pay off their debts, he thought those were sufficient. He wanted anything to do with Christmas or giving of himself. And he had a very tight-fisted way in working with his, he had one employee. He kept the fires very low so everyone was cold in his office. So he's the epitome of the miser. Totally not enjoying life at all. However, what happens is on his way home, and Dickens impresses upon us how this doorknob to his house is dead. You know, the situation was dead as a doorknob. But what happens is he sees the countenance, the face of his deceased partner on the door, and that's the first part of his wake-up call. And the essence of this story is that Scrooge was not looking to make a change. He wasn't seeking revelation, but he was granted revelation in a way, I think, by grace. It came upon him because his partner decides to make this visit to him. And the partner tells him, you know, your life is going way off track. And then the partner himself was suffering because he had died 7 years ago. He realized he had never helped his fellow man. And now he was suffering because he had to travel the world as a ghost, seeing all the want, all the needs, all the poverty, but not being able to do one thing. Except the one thing he could do was tell Scrooge, you know, get your act together, you're going to be visited by 3 ghosts. At first, Scrooge does not like that idea. He said, oh, if that's what I have to do to change, no, forget it. But his partner does not let him off, and he has these 3 visits. Ghosts, I see them also as angels. They present 3 different messages to him about his past, his present, and his future. Now, he wasn't seeking revelation, but to me, this is what happens to him. He does receive revelation because it's at night. He goes to sleep, and then at first the the bell rings, the clock rings 12, midnight, and the first ghost visits, the ghost of the Christmas past. And what happens during all these visits is that he becomes in touch with his heart again. He sees some experiences when he was a child, as a boy, where he was lonely, but then his sister came and helped him out, and his link with his sister. He sees the woman he adored and lost, a fiance, as he started getting off track in his life. He becomes very aware of his behavior. And because this was the Christmas season, you know, he put off Christmas. He said, oh, bah humbug. And as Yvette was saying, but supply is coming from God. And I'm sure, though, if Ebenezer Scrooge were here in this church and Alan White were saying, you know, God is the source of our supply, he would be saying, bah humbug in the back. However, this transformation occurs through these visits with the ghosts. In each situation, he sees glimpses of his life in which he reconnects at the heart level with people who've been important to him. And he starts to realize with each visit, increasingly, how he has gotten off track, how he needs to connect with his people. He starts thinking of things he should have said to his employee that day. He starts thinking of the money he could have donated to the blind people on the street or to the young mother who was homeless on the corner. Slowly, through each of these revelations with these ghosts, he becomes aware. He has a wake-up call, a dramatic wake-up call. And with the final ghost, who's the scariest, because it's like a cloaked figure presenting the ghost of the future, which seems unclear, but what becomes evident to Scrooge is that when he reaches the end of his life, no one is going to care about him. He will be empty, and no one will care, and it will be a total tragedy. As he realizes this at the end of his last visit with the ghost, he says, no, 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 I plan from now on to live my life fully, to interact with people, to show love. And the next moment, he wakes up, and he realizes in the movie, the movie does a little bit, shows a different situation from the book, but I think it captures the essence of what Dickens is saying. In the movie, you see Alastair Sims running around, and he's looking around saying, oh, the night's not over. The ghosts, you know, came and they left, but it's still Christmas morning. I still have an opportunity now to wake up and to live my life joyfully, energetically. He looks out, and there's a young boy out in the corner, and he says, hey, buy me a turkey, I'm going to send it to this person, which he does. And his housekeeper in the movie, he starts acting very strange. He's jumping around, and I love, if you see this movie, I really recommend it. This scene is so funny because this old crotchety, as my son or kids would say, dude in the beginning of the movie is a really fun guy, and he starts running around and saying, I'm as light as a feather, I'm as giddy as a drunken man. And then with the housekeeper, he wants to stand on his head on the chair, and she's throwing up her arms and saying, oh! She's totally scared and said, no, 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 I haven't gone mad. He says, I have not lost my senses. I have come to my senses. And he says, how much do I pay you every week? And she says, 4 6 pence or whatever the English coin was. He said, well, I'm going to give you double that, or triple that. And she's shocked. And he also gives her ½ a crown, which was a lot of money back then. And she goes off on her merry way to celebrate Christmas. And then he reconnects that day. He goes about the streets. And before, when no one had acknowledged him, and he acknowledged no one because he was so self-contained into himself, he sees the streets differently. As Dickens says, he laughs and chuckles, and as he walks through town, he found that everything could give him pleasure. He had never dreamed that any walk, that anything could give him so much happiness. And so you see, the same town that he'd seen before, he views completely differently because now he has insight. So his insight has shifted his eyesight, and now he's truly enjoying life, starting to enjoy life. He visits his nephew, whom he had rebuffed earlier